Good morning, and as always, thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folari. We're approaching that season. In fact, quite frankly, we are in the season. I'm talking about the political season. And in particular, the governorship race in Ekiti, which is coming up on the 14th of July this year. Now, having said that, your mind might have gone one place or the other, but I doubt if you've second-guessed me rightly, because we're going to start looking at some of the aspirants, some of the candidates, and I have one of them for Ekiti 2018, and he's in the person of Olani Ben Agbola.
Thank you very much.
It's great to have you on here.
Thank you for having me. Thank you very much.
First of all, you will be flying the flag of AD in Ekiti State. Yes. Am I correct?
Yes.
And you're not an aspirant. You're actually the candidate.
Yes,
which means you've come through the primary stages.
Correct.
And I was talking with you off air, and you were saying that I was asking you how the primaries went, bearing in mind how primaries tend to go from party to party. And you were saying it was, interesting. It was harmonious, it was friendly, it was rancor-free. And there were 4 of you that went to the primaries.
Yes, correct.
And you were born in 1969, so you were probably the youngest among the people there.
Correct.
How did you emerge? Let me just start from there. How did you emerge? You had this acrimony-free, primary. You were with, 3 other people who were older than you, and yet you came out unscathed. Tell me about that.
Thank you very much for having me.
My pleasure.
As always, you are still the same person. Quickly, I'll let you know. The primaries, we've been talking about election and electioneering activities. It was rancor-free because of what we wanted to show to the other parties. It was also rancor-free because we have our agenda from time immemorial has always been, to provide that leadership, and it started from there. It was interaction with the party leadership, interaction with my co-aspirants at that time, and with the delegates, and understanding the party politics. Before you get there, you will understand the party politics in the intra before it comes to the inter. And so from there, activities that may not be able to come on live here, will not be able to be discussed. Okay. However, it was fine. It was peaceful. It was, in fact, one of
was there a consensus, or was it a vote? Did you go through the whole hog and the votes were counted, or were people stepping down for each other?
Yes, because we are a happy family, because we're good. Eventually, they had to, because after presentation of facts, we're told that, okay, if you're contesting, you also address the delegate for 2 minutes. If you are not, address the delegate for 2 minutes. If you are contesting, address the delegate for 5 minutes. And so all other contestants were just, addressing them for that period of 2 minutes. And in conclusion, they were saying, in the interest of the party, they believe that this young man can do better. Okay. And they all stepped down for me. And so they still went ahead to say that, yes, they've stepped down. The delegates still have to approve. And so at that point, they asked to ask the delegate yes or no, okay, if I would. And it was a thunderous yes. Okay. And here I am.
Okay. Now, let me dig a bit more into who Olani actually is. Because you've been coming from somewhere, I know that you must have made a mark. Otherwise, you wouldn't aspire for such a serious job. I want to be very brief about this because I want to hear about what your ideas actually are for Ekiti. But just give me a brief resume. I know that the last port of call before coming into politics was a job that you had at Globalcom, and in particular at the headquarters of Globalcom. But it didn't start from there. After you'd come back from the UK, tell me how, how you started and how you progressed to ending up with Globalcom before coming into this quest to serve.
Okay. Thank you very much. Since there had been assumption that what I had done before traveling to UK is already in the public domain. I love Nigerian breweries for Globalcom, and I only did 6 months at that time, and so I had to travel to UK. Now that the discussion will have to start from when I came back from UK. So I came back from UK, and I was just studying the economic and the political terrain of Nigeria once more. And then I now started with marketing, McTay Consulting. McTay Consulting is a consulting firm, and I only joined them as facilitator and lead project personnel. And it was for a period, so it was a contract affair. It was for a period of 3 months. We were to dig into how the performance of one of the network providers. And we did that, and based on recommendation, thank God, that's what they've been using up till now, just the minor changes. And when I left there, I moved in as Deputy General Manager to Syncom. Syncom is an arm of an advertising agency, and we were also consultant to the LASA at that time, and I was the lead project person too.
What is LASA?
Last, Lagos.
Okay, Lagos here.
Yes,
okay.
So
the signage.
The signage and the advertising agency. So, and from there, I move on to Hellenic Bottling Company. Some will know it as Nigerian Bottling Company.
I was going to say you had a stint at Coca-Cola, but you're saying actually it's properly known as Nigerian Bottling Company.
Yes, Nigerian Bottling Company. But now more of the acronyms of Hellenic Bottling Company. However, I was there. I was in the project department. And basically, my achievement there, I mean, we're giving the trust of my operation in Coca-Cola was to change the route to market, how they operate. You know, in the time past, it was salesmen in a big truck and in the roads, inaccessible roads and all that. I was to leverage on the experience of Nigerian breweries that are done and very successful. And then we had to do that. That's why you see sometimes cart push, sometimes you see tricycle, sometimes you see canter van, able to assess the interiors. And after that, I spent 2 years there. And all along, Globalcom has been on the trail. They've been tracking activities. And 6 months after I left, 6 years after I left Globalcom, I returned there again. They sought my availability, and I was available.
Okay.
In the process of it, I've been the National Support Manager project. I've been director, e-business. I've been regional manager. I've been state manager. I've been at various times.
You work in the office of the chairman of Globalcom?
I also, yes, I was to now finally mention that.
Okay.
To the office as the executive, the aggregate of those performers now led me to the office of Mr. Chairman. Okay. That as the executive assistant to Mr. Chairman.
Well, thank you very much, because if you are coming out like this, we need to know a bit about you. You know, even if I had known, there are viewers who want to know. Besides the following you must have in Ekiti state itself, beyond that. So who is this dude? Who's going to be governor in Ekiti? You can imagine that there will be that particular inquiry. And you've provided, as much as we need to know for now. No doubt it'll be going along. Now, your passion to serve and wanting to serve, it's interesting. First of all, I think on its register, INEC has something like 68 parties or so. And 35 of those parties are going to be active in Ekiti polls come July 14. Yes. Your party is one of them, AD, as I have said. One question that we often get is when someone like you comes along and wants to throw his hat in the ring for high office, people ask, but why didn't they go and start somewhere down the line, if that is the way to express it? In other words, start from the beginning so that they have a thorough understanding, so that they appreciate what's involved. But coming in, most people want to be president, most people want to be governor. Not many people are interested. Maybe when you start commenting, maybe you'll set me right. Most people don't seem to be interested in local council, local government politics, or starting from there. Why did you decide to go for the big one? You didn't go for State House of Assembly, even national. You wanted to be governor. Why did you make that momentous leap?
Thank you very much. Oh, what a good question. If I had wanted to, it could have been 2002 primaries and when those activities were going on. And it could have been the local government of my, the chair, I would have been the chair of my local government.
But you thought it was too small for you?
Not that. I wasn't interested. I was to discuss, I can discuss, we can play about it, but I was not. I was just comfortable where I was. And I want to say this, and it has to be on record. And I am challenging every listener today to check what I am saying. It was a divine call. No doubt you've heard, several other people have said, God said. God said.
I have heard it. The incumbent governor in Ekiti,
yes,
Ayodele Fayose.
Yes.
I remember a long, long time ago, in his first coming,
yes,
I had the privilege to interview him, and he had said what you are saying, yes, that this was a divine call. It was a message from God for him to run. Yes. You're saying the same thing?
Yes.
God speaks to you Ekiti guys a lot.
We're lucky, and that is why we need to get it right. Okay. Very well. And let me make reference to what you have just said. I mean, we're all friends. We're all brothers and sisters in Ekiti. So I can make reference to the Fayose issue that you mentioned. He said that, and it became. Okay. Do you understand? Okay. And it's coming from nowhere. Do you understand? I can say that.
Well, at the moment, he also had said that his wife, who is normally a very prayerful, spiritual person, although he didn't put much stock on it at the time, had also said that that was how it was going to be. So it was in recounting his surprise that, look, I didn't take this thing seriously, but clearly the angels were listening. Do you have your wife, behind you on this particular project?
Incidentally, she got the message first.
Oh, your wife got the message
first. Got the message first.
There you go.
That's one. Number two, I had to also get my message clearly. And I'll make a difference now, the distinction between me and that example. I want to put it on record, and I want to say it clearly to Ekiti people, to every of my listeners, to say that I, Agbola Olaniji Ben, has a mandate, a divine mandate to build Ekiti. Now, I will say what politicians don't say. I am offering myself for an elective position. I challenge everybody to go and check whether traditionally, whether with in the Islamic way, in Christian way, let them go and check my name and the people outside. Genuinely. Let those ones not use their mental situation and the physical situation to judge. Let them move to their spiritual fathers out of the three in whatever way, even as free thinkers, and check. If I am not, let them not vote for me. No politician will ever tell you that. So I know, and it is the time. And he said, my slogan is Ekiti Redemption 2018. That poster was revealed the way it was. And
the way you see yourself is that, God willing, you will be coming to redeem Ekiti.
After the redemption, then the lost glory will be restored. And that was it. It's redemption and restoration.
You will come up against formidable experience in Ekiti politics.
Yes.
As you know, right now, there's a former governor who has become a governor again. Okay. Also vying to get back into State House is another former governor who was a minister. And, Dr. Fayemi is back in the race.
Yes.
And his chances are very highly thought of.
Yes.
Nevertheless, you are not fazed.
I'm not. I am not, because he who lives in me is greater than those who, than he who lives in them.
No, they could be saying the same thing.
That is one.
They could be saying the same thing. Every Christian, since it seems to me you're a Christian, every single one of them can be saying exactly the same thing.
I am driving a point.
Okay.
Good. I have said how I had mine, and I've made it clearly here. Maybe tomorrow, as of today, I've not been ordained as a pastor, as a prophet. I have not. Maybe the example you cited, the wife was already, or is already a prophetess. My wife is not. So we're coming from somewhere. Now, I say this to you, sir. The example, I know, I have analyzed it myself. The person you mentioned has federal mind, perhaps, maybe deep pocket. The incumbent has state machinery.
The incumbency?
The
incumbency factor,
yes,
although he's not himself running.
Of course.
Nevertheless.
Nevertheless.
His alter ego.
The ruling government. Okay. Now, and deep pocket. You understand? But I have the Almighty, which makes the difference.
But you can't say they don't have the Almighty too. Those two people that you just mentioned.
Let me also cite an example to you. Yes. David was just doing his thing in the bush. He was never thought of. His brothers were full of biceps and triceps. Whatever you can do, muscle, heavy, and they're all there. And the implication is that, I mean, not only that he was even made the king, none of them, the father, the brothers, and everybody there, including the prophet, none sat until David came and until David was anointed. Let me draw a simple analysis from there, from two known characters in the Bible. I've cited that of David. David faced Goliath. What people saw was that he took his flint and had that attempt, and he actually did, to Goliath. If I push somebody from the forehead, it's supposed to fall backward. If you check that clearly, Goliath fell to the front, isn't it? He fell face flat, down. The implication there, the spiritual implication there was that there was a force that was backing David, for that push to have come from behind. And he fell face down. That's one. Number two, the Nehemiah of our time, I am ready to build, the Jerusalem of my time is Ekiti, and I'm building it. What did he have? He didn't have anything. He was discouraged, but he was determined. The only thing he had was courage. The heavenly king says, look, I'll support you. And then he had courage. Okay. And that's the representative of the Heavenly Father. Okay. Me, as I'm sitting down here, Agbola Olani Agbola, I'm not fast. I'm not. He's having one vote. I'm having one vote. And then we're facing, in fact, let me use this opportunity, to say that, please, we have like 3 weeks to the time. Please organize as many debates as can be accommodated. No doubt. That's yes, TVC, organize as many as you could.
You'd like the opportunity to present your ideas.
Oh, yes.
In the meantime, in terms of name value, how would you assess your name recognition in Ekiti? You mentioned a name like Adebayo, you mentioned a name like Oni, you mentioned a name like Fayoshe, you mentioned a name like Fayemi, and just about anybody in that state will tell you that, yeah, I recognize that name. Yes. Your name recognition value, how would you assess it?
My name recognition value actually gained momentum when I finally came. Remember, I've always been in the private sector, and it is the leadership of that experience of the private sector that I'm bringing to bear in Ekiti, to change the face of Ekiti. Okay. Now, about the name.
Because
the characters that you have mentioned.
Let me put it in context.
Okay.
When I wanted to know what your assessment of your name value is, if it's not high, then it probably follows that you're going to have to spend a lot to bring it to where it needs to be. If it's already high, you don't need to waste money in that regard, or shall we say spend money in that regard. That's the context in which I'm trying to find out. Because you also mentioned the matter of some other people might be having deep pockets. I'll come to the matter of pockets later on, but how much effort do you think you're going to have to put into the project for just about everybody in Ekiti to know who AOB is, otherwise known as Olani Ben Abuola?
Thank you very much. Number one, with due respect, all the leaders you mentioned in Ekiti that have been involved in politics, let's mention them one after the other. You mentioned Adebayo. Did you hear his name other than his father's name? Before 1978, before 1998, that he became the governor in 1999? No. Did you hear Fayose? Those who will have heard his name, with due respect to him, will have been his people in Ibadan. Did you hear him in Ekiti? No. He came to limelight. Fayemi, perhaps the issue of what threw you up was also threw Fayemi up. The 93 issue, as it were, it was also a relatively no name in Ekiti at that time. Segun Oni was an MD of a company, and it was also not a name. We know the primaries, when the divine call came in. So my name is gaining momentum because of the strategy that I'm employing now.
Okay.
And as part of the money, like I say, and I will say it again, is Ekiti money. If they bring it, let them take it. Ekiti, this time around, you can't use the permutation of Ekiti to judge anything in Nigeria. They are distinct, they are different. So they will take money this time around. Our money, if
anybody offers it.
If they bring it to me, I'll take. But this time around, one, they will have young mind there. Number two, they will have their program that anybody, it will be my idea of the party, but anybody can implement. As simple as that. Not big grammars. We will speak, if it's time to demystify grammar, we'll get to the nuances. But then here, we will see programs that are masses-oriented, that are Ekiti focused. So not an inclination of what you cannot do.
Ekiti is a unique place, as you rightly said. It's so unique that, let me just take two of the Ekiti names that are out there. On the one hand, there's Fayemi, who is an academic.
Yes.
On the other hand, there's Fayose, who is not.
Yes.
Yet, it is thought that one of the aspects of Fayose that caught on with the Ekiti people was the fact that they felt that he connected with them. They felt a certain connection that I don't know, you would be in a better position to evaluate that. That, he had the common touch, which I don't use in a derogatory way, but ordinary people, as much as Ekiti is known for education, and there are probably more professors in Ekiti than in any other state, so the education, they're not lacking at all. But the common touch, it was thought that he had. As I said, Fayemi, an academic, he was voted out. Of course, he's coming back in now, and no doubt he'll be looking at the play sheet.
He's making an attempt to.
Yes. He's making
an attempt.
He's making an attempt along with, candidates from 34 other parties.
Yes.
He's making an attempt to come back. No doubt he'll be looking at the play sheet and looking at where did we get it wrong and what do we need to do now. Now, this whole matter about the Ekiti man wanting to be connected with, for him to evaluate how sincere you are, how much stock do you place on that? It can't be the only thing, because you've got to have ideas as well, but how much stock do you play on that with the average Ekiti man from your perspective?
Yes, from my perspective, Ekiti people in the time past have been limited by the choice of the candidates that they had. Do you understand? The major example that you cited, with due respect to him, he did what he could do. And
I mentioned about 4 or 5 different Ekiti people.
Okay, fine. You mentioned Fayemi as coming, Dr. Fayemi as a major player.
Yes. Okay, this time around. Yes.
This time around.
Yes.
I'm a major player.
Yes. And so it's important to note that there are 32 other players.
Yes, in there.
No less.
No less.
But we'll probably get to them one by one.
We'll just pick the examples that are relevant here. Now, he was privileged to have spent 4 years. No court case, nothing. He spent 4 years. You understand? Why am I needed? Why the divine call?
Exactly.
It's because of the gap.
I like the question you asked there.
Yes.
Why do you think you are needed?
Because of the gap.
With the wealth of talent that is already on ground.
Because of the gap. Because of the obvious gap that the man on the street of Ekiti can identify with. You don't have to be a professor to see the difference in what we're talking about here. There are three major industries in Ekiti. 1, agriculture. 2, education. And the third, agriculture, education, and civil service.
Okay.
And civil service.
Which you can link to sort of employment.
The employment.
Because
yes,
it's important. And I know it's one of the things that you think is
important. Yes,
I'm
mentioning civil service because it is...
the highest employer of labor.
Yes. Now, if you look at the three, they've all... the incumbent, the government in power now, and that of Dr. Fayemi, the two of them have been able... because that's where my own program comes in. And let me leave them to where they are. And as I'm picking it, you will pick holes in what they've not done. Maybe they've not done well.
Maybe I should put it like this. What do you see as the gap in Ekiti that you are about to fill if the electorate will allow you?
Very good. I'll start from the area of agriculture. We're so blessed that we're just, in the midst of plenty, we're not getting enough. Agriculture, what am I going to do right? There are 3 senatorial districts in Ekiti. What I've proposed in my mind is to have 5 hectares in each senatorial district. And that would be 15,000 hectares. Don't forget, 6 plots will make 1 acre. Just to simplify it, because I've said it in the first place, that yes, acres. I would, yes. Now, 6 plots make 1 acre. 2.5 acres will give me 1 hectare. And 2.5 acres will naturally mean 15 plots. Now, if you multiply 15 by 15,000 hectares, you're going to get 225,000. On the assumption that you are employing 1 person to take care of a plot. In 1 year, I will have employed 225,000 people, as against the 200 of the government in power at the federal level, who did 200,000 in 3 years, and they are celebrating. I don't know. Now, if you now want to say 1 plot to a man is too much, then we can begin to do the arithmetic here. Okay, let's take 4 plots, which is adequate and reasonable enough, to 1 person. So we divide 4 by 225,000. What you get is about 55,000. So at a go, in 1 year, in a state like Ekiti, I have provided 55,000. The implication is that the chunk of the graduates and the Okada people will have left the road. They will have been professionals at this time. And now, how am I going to get these people? What I've done, in all the local government areas of Ekiti State, the 16 local government, we've dropped profile register there. What you need to do there, number 1, you register your name. Number 1, your name, your profession, your contact, what you're doing now, what you want to do. So, proper profiling. So that when we come into power, we will be able to situate individuals according to their core competencies, and their skill.
What you're saying to me is that you intend to be a lot more organized than perhaps you see at the moment.
Because it's a gap.
Do you think organization is one of the gaps?
It is one of the gaps.
What? I've got to take a break. We're going to come back and we'll continue with this,
all right.
Where I want to query your backers and particularly the funding, because it's very, very important in politics.
It is.
Stay with us, please. We'll be right back and we'll include your calls. So welcome back and having this conversation with Mr. Olani Ben Agbola, better known in Ekiti circles and also, you know, among with his buddies as AOB. That's a moniker by which he is better known. Mr. Agbola is of Alliance for Democracy, and he would be governor if the Ekiti people at voting on the 14th of July will indeed allow. His party, AD, is one of 35 that will be vying for the same seat. And it's a crowded field, but you seem upbeat still. Now, I wanted to cut to it because all the best ideas in the world, when it comes to politics in Nigeria, it has been said, your war chest, AKA funds, AKA money, is going to be important. If you don't have money, I'm not too sure what politicians use money for, but if you don't have money in politics in Nigeria, I wonder how far you're going to go. So I'm going to assume that you have a war chest to be proud of.
Yes, I do. Like you have said, thank you very much. I do not have it as much as people would do.
But it's not a concern to you?
It's not.
You think ideas will triumph?
Ideas will triumph. And the Almighty who called me will see me through. Mm-hmm. No.
Even though everybody else is also clinging to the Almighty God. So yes, to that extent, that levels the field. Everybody has access to God and everybody is knowing that God is on his side.
Everybody will claim that. But I know the side that I'm putting. I know. Jacob and Esau knew.
Okay then.
And so Jacob and Esau knew.
Okay.
Even though they are just two.
Mm-hmm. I wonder, I think they put phone lines on now because no doubt your people in Ekiti and maybe other places of the world will want. But you didn't fully address the question of why you are jumping straight into the governorship as opposed to serving an apprenticeship in public service beyond telling me at that time that you just weren't interested. Are you satisfied with that, for people to have that as the reason as why you didn't start to gain the most experience that you could before arriving at the very important office of governor?
No,
not being interested.
There was no nexus between what I said there and this one.
I see.
The clarity of it all was that I made it clear. It was a divine call.
Okay.
I said it.
You know, forgive me, you're right, you know.
Thank you.
You said, look, why I'm going for this thing that might seem improbable to you is that I heard his voice.
Yes.
It was a calling.
Clearly.
Otherwise, I wouldn't have gone that way.
No.
Maybe if you go logic.
No.
But this is not a matter of logic. It's a matter of divine calling.
Yes.
Okay. Yakub, you've come on the line. Good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning, Chief Yori.
Thank you for calling in.
And then good morning to your guest in the studio, the aspirant of Alliance for Democracy.
Mr. Agbola.
The candidate.
Mr. Agbola. You see?
He made the correction. He made the correction of candidate, not aspirant.
Okay, sorry for that.
Thank you.
The candidate of Alliance for Democracy.
Yes.
See, Chief Yori, I have listened to him very well. And then I picked some certain things from what he has said so far. But Chief Yori, I love the last question that you put to him about the money. In this country today, I can tell you the reason why the House of Representatives and the Senate are taking 13.5 million as a running cost. It's all because of this politics of the thing. Because they make sure that Nigeria are still down there poor. And then in every 4 years, they will come around and giving them 1,000 naira and a cup of rice, as case may be. Some of them is giving them a school bag.
So Yakub, I hear you, sir. So what's your question to Mr. Agbola? My question to Mr.
Agbola is that there is one strategy that has never been used since when he sits down in that studio. The question now is this. Mr. Agbola, do you have the structure all over the Ekiti state? That's number one. The number two, do you speak the diet very well? Because if you look at 5 years of this world and other candidates, before they spoke English like 5 minutes, they spoke Ekiti dialect. Because that is what the people in Ekiti state understand most.
Thank you. Let me let him address. Yakub, thank you very much for calling in. Appreciate your call. You heard his question.
Yes.
One, how much of an Ekiti man are you? Yes, English, highfalutin, Yoruba, midstream, all of that. But can you connect? I was talking about the quote-unquote common touch, which is the base, that one of the, players there, it was thought to be a major strength of his.
Thank you very much. Before answering that question, maybe one of the debates that will be setting up for us will be the discussion to be in a local dialect.
Okay.
And then we will value it.
Okay. You feel confident there?
Mọ̀ kọ́ bá ṣeun kọ jẹ́ wí kẹtẹráyé ní gbọ́n mi wí àtẹ̀gbá àti jẹ̀bú àti rákọ̀ọ́lá láti Èkìtì kọ́ ṣeun kàyọ́m discuss ní kò ṣeun kàyọ́m báráyé sọ̀rọ̀ ní mi lúlé o igi ure kẹtẹrá ti mú ìsẹ̀yìn kù náà láti àmọ́ alébẹ̀ o.
Okay, that's enough. That's enough. Thank you very much. By the way, you are from
Oduoro, Ekiti in Ikole local government.
Oduoro in Ikole. So what you're saying is that first of all, do you agree with the last caller that this is important to the people of Ekiti? How much of us is he?
In fact, I'm not going to name at this point. This aspect was a major disadvantage to a major contestant now. Just that it was parried the first time. You understand? It hurt him badly. And he's going to do that right away. I have solicited for this, even for 30 minutes or 1 hour. No English, no diluted Yoruba in it. Well, it has to be the dialect from the beginning to the end.
Well, that means you're going to cut the rest of us out. Because, so probably people are going to have to agree for a compromise. Okay. Maybe you people should just speak English. Okay. But Mr. Makonju in the UK, good morning. Good morning, Makonju in the UK.
Sir.
Good morning.
Yeah, can I speak to Mr. Agbola?
Please go ahead.
Yes, please. Listening.
Yeah, Mr. Agbola, you talked about planning. Can you tell us how much do you think you're going to spend for the election? And that's number one. And number two, you talked about God calling. What happens if you are not able to secure the governorship? Will you now say that maybe your vision wasn't correct? Or will you now say that God is a liar? Or how will you be able to reconcile that if in case you are not able to win the election? I just want you to clarify that. Because
okay, thank you very much, Mr. Makonjuola. It seems to me that two parts to it. Yes. The first part was he wanted to know about funding, the war chest that we were talking about. Maybe how prepared are you? Maybe I think that's the more important.
Let me make this clear.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say anything else was not important.
Yes, let me make this one clearly first. You were asking me how I emerged from the party. What will be played out was experimented in my party. You understand? One, I was the youngest. Number two, I spent the least. The issue of coming to say this is the amount that I want to spend. It is
not really
it is personal.
It's not done.
Yes, I won't be. That's what I want to do.
I don't think anybody's going to say that.
Yes, I won't disclose that here. But our party agents. But maybe what you are driving at.
Sorry, sir. Okay. Can I? Even though Mr. Makonjuola doesn't need my help, but do you have your own money to put into this? And because I spoke about your backers.
Yes.
Oftentimes, you see a candidate and is in office because of his backers.
Yes. And
he can't afford to offend his backers.
Yes.
Even though there are also downsides to being backed. Yes. Because oftentimes backers now want to control the man, and for the man to become a puppet and all of that. That area, would you like to clarify how, if you're not putting your own money into this, if you don't have your own 10 billion naira, for example, maybe 15 billion naira to put into this, those that will put the money up, how are you going to be sure that you will still have your independence and integrity to do the right thing?
Thank you very much. You see, in my private conversation with my national chairman, in the person of very amiable, very serene person, Chief Joseph Avasi, In my private conversation with him, I was saying, we're joking and we were saying, if maybe you will now be the godfather. He said, no, you don't have a godfather. He said, presently, humanly speaking, you don't have any godfather. And do not say that because of a godfather, you are going, you are not going to do A, B, C, D. Number one, I only have one godfather, the Almighty. And that answers Mr. Makonju's question to say that if it didn't happen, that's futuristic. Let's watch and see whether it will happen or not.
Divine in Apapa, good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning, Professor Chief Onkuyori. I want to just add to what the last caller just asked your governor aspirant. Onkuyori, I want to tell him that
he keeps on correcting you. He keeps on correcting our viewers that it's not aspirant, it's candidate.
Okay, the candidate.
Yes.
Sorry for that.
Of AD.
So the issue of election in Nigeria is not an easy one because I can see him sounding so spiritual. But the assurance I want to give to him, is that he should remember that when the children of Israel wanted to cross to the promised land, it took them 40 years before they crossed. And I want to tell him that despite the fact that the election in Nigeria is very strong, and even if it did not work out in this very time, he should still go on and push on until he achieves his goals.
All right,
because
then.
I can see he sounding very spiritual, but it is not an easy race. So I'm not going to discourage him. What I'm trying to say is that he should put more effort. For the fact that he tried and he failed, he's a star. Because he that shoot to the sky and fell, he's a star. So he should keep on shooting and shooting and shooting until he get to the...
Thank you very much, Divine. But you're not in this for the try. You're in it to win.
Do I respond to that? Thank you very much. If you dig deep, you will have seen. Let me cite an example. Ab initio, when I was coming out, I was in another party. I don't want to promote any party here.
No, you're not promoting it if you left it. If you left it, you're not promoting it.
Very good.
By the way, what party did you leave? I'm interested now. What party did you leave?
I left APC.
Okay. You left APC for AD.
I left APC for AD. And it is very clear.
But APC and AD are somehow thought to be something like cousins.
They are not.
Maybe you might want to call them distant cousins. But
I don't know whether APC would. We are father of all, AD.
Okay.
They all metamorphosize and they change and change and change to whatever.
Okay.
We are here. Now, I say this to you, sir. I did everything to get nomination form, to get everything done in APC. Do you know what happened? The door was naturally shut, even though processes were meant to be amended for me. It was shut.
The door was shut against you in APC.
No, not that they physically shut it, but the question came. You understand? Because you said I sounded...
What question?
No, I'll let you know. Because Divine said I sounded too spiritual.
No, not
the
too.
Spiritual.
He said he sees that you are emphasizing the spiritual, which you are not going to deny.
No. The spiritual controls the physical.
Okay.
Whatever is settled in the spiritual, that's what manifests into it. Now, let me... Another logic to it is... Because he can rationalize it, that is why he has that opinion. If it can be rationalized, then it's not of God. When it happens, the miracle of sleeping and waking, yes, it's a miracle.
Indeed, it is a minor miracle.
Because you didn't even know how you slept.
So what you're saying is that there is no impossibility for God?
No.
Okay. Let me quickly bring in Okoroafo, Mr. Mazi Okoroafo in Abia State. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, our guests in the studio. Honestly speaking, my own thought about the election is only the youth brand of electioneering. You allow one money misroad politician to deceive you with fake promise. Even the politician cannot use his own or her children or wife to perpetrate such acts of atrocity in the name of election. You see, we have come to a stage now that let everybody go and campaign. The youth, and short, all the people going to the vote, you vote based on your own conscience.
Thank you.
Not for anybody to deceive you.
Thank you.
When they deceive you, now, what do we do in Nigeria? There is no year or any time they conduct the election, you will not hear about election box disappearing. How do we stop this? Because election that we are talking about, election is just maybe some weeks to that. How do we stop this? That's the carrying of election box and be running by the youth. That's what are able to operate in the hotel.
Thank you very much, Mazi Okorafo.
Very, very simple logic, Mazi. Thank you for that. Now, let me also shock my audience. The highest money that has come to me in this political race from one individual has been 320,000. Highest. I have made use of 500 naira from an elderly woman from my church and say, this is my contribution. And I have made use of 1,000. I do not have those billions, but I have the idea here. I am presenting myself the way I am to the people and say it is right time to do things right, whether stealing of boxes or not. Thus was I call Ekiti election a season film. Why did I? I have mentioned one with federal might, one with state machinery. State machinery will not allow federal might. They are both going to work for me. How? Federal might will not allow state machinery to steal, to carry away the boxes. The state machinery will not allow any ugly thing to happen as a result of the antics of the federal might. So the two will cancel themselves. We will have a straight and very peaceful election in Ekiti.
Okay. Well,
based on ideology.
How happy are you? Because going back to God willing, your desire is met. You've spoken about aspects of agriculture, aspect of labor through, agriculture as well. Education. How happy are you with the state of education?
The state of education, yes. If it's right, we say it's right. If it's not, it's not. The previous administration, I don't know, even till now, let me go by the statistics that they put on the Ekiti website. That statistics. Well, we will analyze it here. The figure there is 541 primary school in Ekiti. Public, owned by government. The secondary school is just 171, owned by government. If you find the percentage, that's about 38% or less, okay? Now, if you find the ratio, it's about 1 primary school to 3. I mean, 3 primary school to 1 secondary school. What is the implication of what I'm bringing out? The implication is that, number one, if you check, it means, let's assume that primary school pupils will be up to, of course, that figure in public school will be up to 1,000. That of secondary school, let's equate it to be 1,000. So you are saying 3,000 primary pupils into secondary school, 1 secondary school. Already, there is a challenge. Already we have consciously, the leadership, not me inclusive, the leadership of Ekiti now and before have consciously started building social vices that you can take off. Somebody who couldn't further education. Now, don't forget, the secondary school leavers now, of course, you know the stuff they are made of. Now, consider primary school, who could not further. Now, where do you throw them to? You are already throwing them on the street already. You are increasing them. What are we going to do? So it means that infrastructure has to come in. You need more schools. Because there is a gap, note this, the private sector try to bridge the gap, and they have 74 primary schools. And about... You're
going to encourage that?
Sorry?
Are you going to encourage that kind of a thing?
No, because...
Or is government going to be able to bridge this gap under your administration?
I am not going to legislate them out.
Okay, okay.
I am going to present options to the public. The same option that was available to me in 1979 that will make me not to go to private school.
Okay.
With due regards.
And still...
So, I will present the options and I will make that of public school second to none.
Qualitative.
Qualitative.
Super in Victoria Island, thank you for holding on. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, great Yori. And good morning to the AD candidate of Ekiti.
Good morning.
My dear candidate, I want to respect you for the fact that you want to challenge an incumbent governorship and the federal might. A caller said that you are sounding so spiritual. Let me give you a bit of the advice, my dear brother. Use that spiritual that you are sounding to put confusion in the midst of those two people, so that at the end of the day, you will be victorious. Thank you very much, and have a good day.
God bless you. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much for calling in. Super, you seem to really like that advice.
Yes, I do.
Because you yourself had said that somehow the powers might cancel. You would wish or hope that the powers would cancel themselves out.
That's what will happen. I don't want to be going into, you know the story of Mordecai and Anna. That's what will happen. It's a season film. And if it is not about the spiritual call, the divine call, we won't be here talking.
But you still have to persuade the people of Ekiti. They are going to have to listen to your ideas.
Yes.
And clearly, you can express yourself. We're seeing that here. But this whole, I don't want to belabor the point. You've explained it. But you're going to have to get around in Ekiti. And this costs something. You're going to have to get around, get your message around. I don't know if you started that now. Is it posters? Is it going door to door? Because I hear that these are some of the strategies that eat into war chests.
Good.
Apart from some of the necessaries, sometimes politicians go to any means necessary. I don't know, all of which can be money, be fighting money with money, whatever.
There was a point I wanted to make the other time.
Sure.
And a caller came in. And I said, a voice came that, look, I said I will make you governor of Ekiti. Did you ask me how? So it meant that I went to APC on my own. Oh. Did you ask me how? Now, your question, let me tell you that it will be interesting to know that the two seemingly major yes, in Ekiti, parties in Ekiti.
Okay.
Are the people, are my foot shoulders, are the people working for me.
I see.
You are surprised? My strategy, when I mention it now, I will be the first to have said it on open air. So if anybody now is adopting it, is adopting that strategy. And I will only mention 4. Mm-hmm. I will keep the rest of the 4.
Very, very brief, please, because we're running out of time, and I still want to include
door to door. Door to door, 1.
Yes.
Number 2, there's what is called robocall to the professionals.
Yes.
When you pick a call, you just see your phone ringing. Once you pick it, you start telling you about me.
About you.
That's 1. There will be voice note. There will be WhatsApp message. There will be messages going on. Okay. My posters are there.
Taking full advantage of all media available,
yes,
social and otherwise.
Yes.
Let me quickly squeeze in. There's one other caller on the line. I forget the name. Is it Chief Ogidi? Ogidi in Ikeja. Did I get that right?
Yes, it's High Chief Ogidi.
Please go ahead, Chief.
Yes. First of all, I want to commend Mr. Nia Bola, who is a very good friend of mine, who I know very well. And I've been following the program, and I've been seeing your interest in funding. I don't think funding should be a setback for someone who has the capacity to deliver. All those who have funding have failed us, and we have seen it repeatedly play out. They put funding forward like a bait, and at the end of the day, what have we achieved with all the deep pockets that they've come to the table with? So I want to strongly appeal that this game should not be a game of fun. We should change the game, especially when we have youth and vibrant people coming to the table like this. They should be encouraged.
Thank you very much.
And funding should not be emphasized. Even though we may play a role, we know that the need that we know, we deliver. And coming from his background in the corporate world, I think he's going to do very well. These are the kind of changes we are looking at seeing in 2019, not just changes of the same old people who were here 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 10 years ago, and did nothing.
Thank you very much. Chief Ogidi, thank you very much. I take your point, and I only interrupted you because of the tyrant called time. Thank you very, very much for calling in. And that point that you made, I think was a very, very important one, that funding is not everything, which is the point you've also been making.
Yes.
That funding is not everything, and people should just wait. Well, I want to thank you for coming to our studios, and so that we could at least know who Olani Ben Agbola is, AOB, otherwise known, the candidate of Alliance for Democracy in the Ekiti governorship elections coming up on the 14th of June. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
So that's our program. Please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I am Yori Folani. Bye-bye for now.